Welcome back to the layout, and it's time to start getting some of the scenery sorted. I've done this sample piece here just to try and change all this from being one colour to have a few tones in. So this is my sample piece. There's still a few more bits. I want to put another coat of weathering powder on that just to bring it out. I don't know if the camera does pick it out or not, but you can see it's got a few more tones to it. So that'll be the process I'll be replicating onto this at some point. I've also given my first ever go at weathering using oils a go. So this is a process I saw on YouTube. I will put a link in the description to the video. And yeah, I don't think it's come out too bad. This is, like I said, this is literally my first ever attempt at anything like this. So it's just using the oils to try and focusing on it to try and get just the different tones as a really weathered car. There's still some more weathering to go on it, but this is like the rush tones. This side looks a bit better than the other side. I'll show you the other side. The only reason I say that is because this is like a bit of a uniform U shape, but I don't think it's too bad for a first go. Obviously there's more to be improved and more weathering, but I just thought I'd show you that. My aim is to weather every car that I have eventually. Not to this degree, this is a maximum degree, but everything needs to be weathered eventually. So I've used this vehicle, it's a HO scale Sprinter, put it on, made a mark. So my first job, I'm going to put just a bit of PVA glue in here. I'm going to get the centre line. Then while that dries, I will attack this to make the car park, and then we'll get this bit so we can start getting some trees in. Now, as you can see, I've done this. This isn't as wide as it'll be. So what I've done is I've covered it with the Woodland Scenics Fine Turf, burnt grass. This is the base layer. So I've covered it. When it's dry, I'll use an old sock on the hoover to get off the excess. All the excess will be removed, and then I can add the layers either side and then the top ups. So because I've got the burnt grass out, I might as well do this section here. Again, this will just be the same process, PVA white glue and then burnt grass over the top to form the base layer. All that area is done now. You can see that I patted it down. If you want on the sped up part, that's because that's a base, so I want that to be flat, because I want this bit to be raised because it's the part between the tracks. So now that I've done this, I'm going to do all this section as well. All the flock is on for now, all the Woodland Scenic burnt grass. I've done this patch here, green fingers from where I've been sprinkling it, and I've done all these areas. While all the flock dries, I've just had a look at my tarmac. This section here was slightly raised, and when locos went onto it, it was just taking the wheels off and stopping them. So what I've done is I've got a Stanley blade, and then I've took out some of this foam. I've filed it back, and I've just put some filler on, so it's looking a bit rough at the moment. But once this is dried, I can sand it down and it can get repainted. This side I've just filed, and then this is ready for a repaint. Just need to smooth a few of these little bits out. It's the next day and I have hoovered the flock. I used the sock on the hoover method as described before, and so you can see the base layer covering now. There's a few bits you can see where I will need to patch up. I've also done the transload facility, so that will need a bit of a patch up. There's not too many patches up, but I can do that whilst I do the earth. And then just to show you, this is how much I took up. So it's quite, I can't really see from the side, but there's quite a lot there. If that had just gone in the hoover, that's quite a waste. So that will be reused, and what's not reused will get put back. Our next job will be to paint this concrete. So I've already sanded it down, so it's ready to go. I've done this side, and then I've also done this side, the bit that was giving me more problems. So I'm going to use this concrete liquid pigment from Woodland Scenics. It will take a few coats to coat like this has. Ideally what I should have done is I should have left it not as thick to see, so you could see the black through to give it a bit of tone. But now that I've done it this way, I'll have to stay with it. So that's now painted and drying. I'll have a look at that when it's dried. I'm going to have a look at the roof. So this is my test piece. So this bit on the left, this is the original, this is how this is. The bit in the middle is just with the black wash. And then if I can get the camera to pick it up, the bit on the right has been thinnered. So I've just used a bit of enamel thinners to try and get, so there's a tone to it, but not that it's like this and left like this. So I'm going to put on the black wash, and then we'll try and get the thinners to thin it out. So I've got my, you can see I've put the first layer on. It's just this MIG Ammo dark brown wash that goes on first. From that, I'm going to use a bit of enamel thinners on a brush and just a little layer and work my way down to try and make some streaks. You can already pick out the difference from here to here. This is the first time I've ever used this process. I'm not an expert, I am a beginner, so hopefully it will come out alright. So what I'm going to do is try and get rid of the fly that's going to land on it. The next thing I'm going to do is just continue that process all the way along and then see how it looks at the end. The thing is, with the wash and the enamel thinners, I can always take it off. I can always add more, so I'm not too scared about it going wrong. So now you can see a difference from this that I've thinnered and this that I haven't. There's still a bit more to rework, but I'm just going to continue on that same process for the other side. And there we have the roof. As you can see, it's got a bit of weathering. I might go over it again, just take a bit more off. I'm not 100% decided yet, but it now looks like a used building. Like I said, I was going to wait until all the flocking was done to do the concrete, but I decided I'm just going to start the first little bits in between the flock drying. The first layer after the primer will be, you can see I've made my own wash here. It is just city dirt, smoke and white weathering powders with water. So I'm just going to spread that onto the concrete and let it dry. And there we have the second layer. I'm hoping it's streaky, hoping the camera picks it up that it's streaky. Try and stop out the light. So this is a wash, this should dry. It will dry different to how it looks now, we'll see it when it's dry. And then from here, I've got another layer or two to put on. I'll see how it looks when it's dry, whether I do a second coat of this wash or not. Again, never tried this, never done concrete tarmac before. I just saw this on the old Cafe Millet video and I thought I'll give that one a try. So this is how it's dried after the first coat. Not too much of a difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a rough sponge like this. Just give it a rub over. And if I'm not happy with it, I'm going to add another coat. So not too much different, so I think we'll go for a second coat. So hopefully the camera picks it up. That's had a couple of coats of the wash now. You can see it's built up in certain areas. which coincidentally will be areas of high traffic, so around these doors and around this door here. I've given it a bit of a rough up with my sponge, as you can tell. So the next stage, I've got a bit of Payne's grey and I've got a bit of a buffy cream colour. I'll show you in a sec the mix. I've mixed that with a bit of water. I'm going to dab that on with a sponge, add a little bit of varnish, just in the dropper. That should seal the surface, and also just mix it in a bit better. And then that's that done. You may notice in this picture a little bit of static grass. That I've been doing for the next video. I'm like filming 2 lots in one go here. So to make the tarmac, I've used these artist acrylics. So there's a Payne's grey and a buff Titan. You can see I made more of a wash. I want a thin wash because I want the colours that are already on, even though there's not many colours, but I want that to come through. So again, I've never tried this before. It's all new to me. It's just something I've seen and I want to give a try. So it's just a proof that if you feel nervous about trying it, this is proof that just give it a go, see how it turns out. So as well as making the acrylic wash, I've got something that's out of focus. I've got this matte varnish which I will dab on, and I'm going to be using an artist sponge. So all I'll literally do is I will get the sponge, dab it in, and then dab around, trying to make a tarmac looking effect, and then I'll put on this matte varnish so that it seals the surface. Again, you can see some of the static grass and what's going off, but that will be in the next video. This is what it currently looks like. It will dry different to this, just like the wash that was really dark, and then once it dried it lightened up. So I've done a thin wash because it's much easier to add another layer of paint than it is to try and take one away. So we'll let this dry and we will see how it goes. So it's had 24 hours to dry. It's a very thin coat, but I quite like it. See if you can see that. So I've got some quite nice tones in there. It looks used. There's just one more step to go. This is a mix of city grey, city dirt and white. So just to break things up, it's going to get a dusting. So I'll just give this a dusting with that, and then that will be this part finished. So it's a nice soft brush, and I'm just going to brush it on. So this is the finished article. It's a lot better blended. This is what it looks like when it's just brushed on with the dry brush, which is okay, but I want to try and blend it in a bit more like this, is just add some tones. So what, there's a bit of excess powder, I'll just blend that in. Not really doing it any sort of pattern, just so it looks a bit like that when it's done. Then we take our rough sponge again and just blend it together with the sponge. It just roughs the surface. It is going to, if I get a sponge, it is going to take it off, but it should together, bring it all together, and then certain areas will stay a bit weathered compared to other areas. That is what the finished article looks like. So that's it for this one. It's been quite a long one, but we've done quite a lot. You get a bit of a sneak peek of what's coming next. Thank you for watching. As I say, no expert. I am just trying these processes. First time for me, seeing what works, what doesn't. But that's how you learn, I suppose. But thank you for watching. Any comments, questions, anything, please like, share, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.